What's black and white and red all over?
What?
I don't know. I was hoping I'd come up with a better punchline than just a newspaper, but I got nothing, guys. Welcome to Simply Amazing! I know that was probably the worst intro.
I got another one. It's the paper that you turned into your English teacher. They red pen the shit out of it. They red pen all the time.
Oh, there you go. Black and white and red all over. Okay, that's true. That's it. Black and white and red all over is I'm like, why am I trying to come up with anything else and save this? Let's move on. Like, oh my gosh. Anyway, hi guys, welcome back to Simply Amazing. I am Lisa, of course, the OG Nocturne with a Nacht, like the German night. And we are here with, of course, the fabulous, the wonderful, the gorgeous.
What's up? I am your friendly neighborhood by Lauren, and I am here, and I am queer, and I am ready. Let's do this, Lisa. What are we talking about today?
We are going to be talking about something really silly and fun. I thought it would be cool. Well, here's what I was thinking. We talked about this a little bit with Dr. Anna Papard when she was on the show with us, and it's come up a couple times just how different Kurt was in his initial creation versus how he is today. So I thought what would be fun is why don't we go back and read Giant Size X-Men #1 and give our first impressions of who that Nightcrawler is, just completely ignoring what we know of who he is today. And in preparation for that, I went to the Discord and I asked everybody to give me one word that describes Nightcrawler. And I think what I want to do is I'm going to give a couple of those words and we'll decide at the end of this issue if any of these words actually describe the character in this issue. Infinity Loop's Nightcrawler calls him exquisite. Kino calls him funky. The Lil person calls him dashing. Cannibal calls him fuzzy, which I think is fair. Handsome also. Who else? Does Machines calls him inspiring. Harvey Dent calls him elf. I know he is inspiring. Comic Goth calls him himbo, but I mean, fair.
Yes, he is, and that's
He's
a good
himbo.
thing. Yes,
it's fair. Definitely not going to come up in this issue, but for the other ones. But I think that's a fair place to start. I think we can say I would say dashing is definitely something that comes up a lot, right, in his characterization today. Like the pirate, the swashbuckler, the Lothario, the romantic, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the sap that's all romantic, and also, again, I mean that goes with the himbo though. Like he's a pretty boy and he just wants to make people happy, right?
He wants to make people. He like we found out in Inferno, he wants to make his mother happy.
So. Oh, don't get me started.
No, let's not get into that.
But with this issue. I think it'd be cool if, we'll talk about this issue and then we can kind of see if we see any elements of the words that people mention. Cause I agree with you, like all those really great, adjectives that y'all gave in Discord describing Kurt. I think all those fit him, but it'll be interesting to see how many we kind of can put in this first impression of him and how many aren't quite there,
Yeah, I do want to point out just really quickly, there was a little bit of controversy about the himbo situation where Infinity Loop said he's not a himbo, Angel is a himbo, but Comic Goth did make a really good point. We can have multiple himbos. Guys, there's room. Yeah. There are room for many himbos. All right.
All the himbos.
Himbos all around. Himbos for everyone. You get a himbo. You get a himbo. Everybody gets a himbo.
Exactly. We got himbos, we got sheepos. I don't think that's correct. I'm just trying to make a joke, I promise. We got theybos. Any person can be very just simpy for women or men or whoever, whatever genders or gender they are, and just be seduced by it and be kind of dumb sometimes. Even if they're not actually dumb, they just get kind of dumb when they're around somebody they're flirty with. There's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Listen, I've met some very, very, very intelligent people who become very, 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 very stupid around people they're attracted to. So
you're talking on right now. That's me. It's bad, y'all. We were actually talking about this earlier before we recorded.
Oh,
very bad. I don't function around attractive people. So like if I met Kurt, wouldn't function. It's funny because people think because I'm very talkative and very loud and stuff, they're like, oh, so that means you'll just start talking. I'm like, depends. I might talk nonstop or I'll just stop talking and forget how to speak for 10 years.
We just so happen to be talking about a certain comic book artist who is very, very attractive. I won't name names, but he did happen to do the artwork for the issue that we named our podcast after. So if that gives you any kind of clue. But let me tell you, this man has an Instagram. And dear Lord, oh my God. Okay, we're going way off track here.
We need to get back to joint size.
This is becoming After Dark so quickly.
Yeah.
And like...
If you guys want to hear us talk about this artist who helped give the namesake of our show and who we both find incredibly attractive, feel free to let us know in Discord, on Twitter, whatever, and we'll make sure we film an After Dark episode. But let's get back to Giant Size X-Men #1, right? The first appearance of Kurt. Let's talk about our first impressions. You really streamlined this one, Lisa. So I'm going to let you lead the charge on how we talk about it. Do you want to go as we go through the issue? Do you just have certain points you're like, let's hit it?
Let's just hit it. Let's just talk about it. I mean, first and foremost, forget everything you know about Kurt. Kurt who? Who is this guy? I don't know. I've never met him before.
I heard he's blue. He might have a tail. I don't know why he has a tail. Is this a furry thing?
No, this is very Mariah Carey. I don't know her right now. So so basically we jump right into the issue, and like, I mean, the issue starts with Kurt, and I love that because think about it this way. The X-Men were canceled. And this is the renaissance of the X-Men. This is the X-Men coming back. And the first page of the X-Men's renaissance, the first page of the X-Men coming back is our boy Kurt. And I think that's amazing. I think that tells you, I guess that kind of tells you where they expected the brand to go, was in this new direction and this kind of wild and exciting direction, which was very different than the Wonder Bread direction of the 1960s, which was basically like the most exotic character was Lorna because she had green hair. And before that, the most exotic character was Jean because she had red hair. So
And that's such a good point. That was my first thought when I was rereading this as well, is, oh my God, the first thing I see other than, the opening page with the name of the creators and then the whole team together, the next thing you see is Kurt. And so it's really important how you start this series, like you said, because the X-Men just canceled. This is trying to get the X-Men back to the people. This trying to give it the second shot, see if it can work. And so the fact that out of all their options, they didn't choose Wolverine to start the book. They didn't choose Storm, Colossus, Banshee, Sunfire. They chose Kurt to start the story off. And that's so important because if people thought Kurt was that bad or they couldn't relate to that or whatever, they just wouldn't have read the book. They would have stopped reading right there and said, this shit sucks. Mm-hmm. But they didn't. People read this shit because they were like, oh my God. And so somehow, and I'm so glad, and I agree, it was the right choice to put Kurt's opening page.
Totally. And I think, I think a lot of the other elements are really great about putting him in the first page too. I mean, first of all, picking like a Bavarian village is so, it's a very iconic look. It's very like fairy tale and storied. And so that's something that you can like depict artistically, and like your typical American readership will see that and think like Europe. They'll think like, so that made sense too. But I will say, like, from going from there, like, that's great. And I love that. Now let's talk about characterization. I mean, like, they're just like pushing really hard. Like he says he's a man, but he's really a beast. It's very like,
it's incredibly interesting because like they vary on the nose with that. The fools, it is they who are the monsters. They with their mindless prejudices. Like it's very on the head. but I love the close-ups you see on his teeth and stuff. And I love, it makes me laugh here because it's like, wow, he can leap, doubt his humanity there, but also look, now his humanity is completely gone because he howls. And to me, I'm reading this, I'm just like, I don't know, that's kind of hot. Am I problematic for that? Like, howl away, green guy with a tail that just wants to not be having torches thrown at him. Like, okay. All right,
Lauren is turned on by German men getting chased down by angry mobs. Hashtag cancel Lauren.
They have to be blue men with very nice fangs and a tail.
Cancel very specific, very specific, yes. but yes. I think we can do it. I think we can cancel you.
If you're going to cancel me, cancel me correctly, please. Thank you. It's all I ask. But seriously, it's very funny because it's like they want you to empathize with him, but then they go back on it half the time because they're like, wow, he has, prejudice going against him. But then also, oh, look, but, he howls like a beast, so that denies his humanity. And it's like, what? You're right. Like, man or monster. And then Charles comes in all of a sudden. Wow, he's completely human because Professor Gaslighter is here.
Yeah. So what's interesting is like throughout the entirety of this issue, looking back on this issue through the lens of having read all of Claremont's years and all of that characterization, it's so easy to look at this and be like, oh, like, because the characterization is very flat. But at the same time, they're very clearly trying to do something. And the writer, the intention here is to pass this off to Claremont almost immediately. So, it's, I don't want to like come down too hard on this. It's like it's almost a 50. Oh my God, it's almost 50 years old. It's almost a 50-year-old story. And a lot has changed in how comics are told and narratives and all that stuff. However, it still is very like, these characters are kind of awful. They're all awful and I hate them all. It's, but
I mean, it's still, I mean, it's very cheesy. I mean, this whole thing is just literally setting up the team being like, hey, here's how this person connects to this. Here's what's happening. And then you have Scott being all Scott, which he is here. Like, this is, I don't know. I feel like some people might think this is Scott's best era. And I think it isn't because he's very just like, oh, girl. Like, he's like emo boy vibes here to me. And like, it's not like, it's just not a thing. It's just not great. But, I think it's interesting because Kurt here, even though, he's man or monster and blah, 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 he really respects authority in this. Like when
very much
Charles Xavier comes to him, he's like, okay, well, if you're going to, help me be a quote, a whole Kurt Wagner, then I will go with you, teacher. He calls him teacher. He does not call him Charles or Xavier. He calls him teacher. And then later, you have Sunfire and Nightcrawler kind of going back and forth. And Nightcrawler looks at Sunfire is just like, I did not hear Cyclops giving you a choice, man. Like,
oh yeah. Yeah. And he's very deferential, which goes into him becoming a cop now, right? So there you go.
So I guess that fits. Like they kept that characterization in terms of he very much, whether he wants to respect her or not, he does respect authority. And it's interesting where that could come from because from his past, at least, his history, because like he was in a circus and stuff. Like where did he learn to respect authority so much?
He was in a circus, but I wonder if it comes from having worked as a trapeze artist, because I feel like there has to be, this is like literally me making stuff up off the top of it but just having from my own experience having worked in theater, like when you're working in theater, you work under a director and, you take your direction. You know what I mean? There's really very little talking back to the director unless you have a director who's open to that kind of stuff. And I imagine there would be something similar or some kind of similar hierarchy if you were like working in a trapeze troupe, especially when it comes to like safety issues. Like you've got to have somebody who is calling the shots and somebody who is making the decisions for your troupe. Otherwise, I mean, people are going to get hurt, right? That makes sense to me. I don't know. I'm making stuff up. Hey, if you're a trapeze artist, let us know. Like, please.
Seriously. I mean, no, that does make sense in terms of, especially the safety stuff, especially if he grew up respecting authority, not because like authority, blah, 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 but because if you don't, you can get hurt. Especially on this mission they go on, right, where Scott's telling them what to do. And like, in particular, I forgot all about this. Him and Sunfire go back and forth a lot because Sunfire is very sarcastic and very like, wow, good observation. What does he call him? Misfit. He calls him a misfit. And Kurt's just like, well, what the heck is with your sarcasm? Like, be hospitable or something. Like, what's wrong with you? It's very interesting that, Kurt's very much seems like the person here that's like, hey, I might not be the smartest person in the room, but I'm smart enough to know that I need to do something to protect others and to protect myself. Like,
oh yeah,
get it together.
I know we're talking about Kurt, but I want to like talk about Sunfire for like 2 seconds because he's not a character that gets a ton of attention. I mean, right now he's getting some attention because he's in the current X-Men run. But he's not a character who's gotten a ton of attention over the years, but I'm living for him in this book because he is just like, he is creating drama where there should be no drama because he's just like, tell me right now, Professor, why did you drag us here? And it's like, okay, first of all, honey, you chose to come all the way from Japan to here. Okay. Like, and you had that whole time on the way from Japan to here to ask these questions and you didn't. And you have gotten into the costume that the professor gave you. So you've gone like through steps through A through Z, and now you're angry and asking questions. Like, you had all that time to ask questions,
right?
Not to say you can't ask questions. I'm just saying, like, you could have asked questions that whole time. Like, you clearly were riling yourself up to get angry to ask the questions. Number one. Number two, he's just like angry the whole time, and like him and Kurt just keep going back and forth at each other, like sniping at each other, and it's like, if this book wasn't written in the 1970s, I would have been like, they're going to fuck after this because like,
I was literally about to say that. I was like, how am I not seeing that ship? Like, even if people want to make it a crack ship or a real ship, I don't care. But like, how am I not seeing that? Because yeah, I'm with you. I'm reading this. I'm like, they told it like at some point Kurt would lose his shit and they would just like rail each other against the wall. Like, come on, we could have had it all, guys. But I'm with you. Like, Sunfire is hysterical and he's much more relatable now that I'm older because I feel his sarcasm more and his moodiness and just like, fuck this and fuck that and cause drama. Like, he really makes it more like an enjoyable reality show because he adds to the, the craziness and joy of it. And
do you know who
on everything?
Oh, do you know who Sunfire is 100%? And anyone who's a Real Housewives person out there is going to understand this. Sunfire is Danielle Staub because Sunfire. You don't watch Real Housewives, do you?
No.
Okay. No. Well, anyone who does will understand what I'm saying. Sunfire is Danielle Staub because Sunfire leaves the party after the drama, is like, I'm going home, and then comes back to start more drama because Sunfire left. Sunfire was like, I don't want to do this. And they're like, okay, well then leave then. You don't have to come. And he's like, I'm leaving. And he does. And then he comes back, and then Nightcrawler's like, well, why? Why'd you come back then, Sunfire? And Sunfire's like, well, I'm not going to tell you about it. And it's like, oh, I mean, you didn't have to come back, dude. If you're going to come back, at least be nice about it. Like, why have to be a dick about it? It's just, he just came back to cause more drama.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely am with you on the fact that he just caused drama, and it's very entertaining because otherwise I feel like this would be even more kind of bland than it can be reading it today because like everybody else is taking things way too seriously. Then Sunfire's just like, what the fuck, bruh? What the fuck? Sarcasm, drama, this. Let me piss off Kurt more. And I'm like, you know what, Sunfire? You're the entertainment of this issue. Like, surprisingly, he is the entertainment. But that said, with Kurt, it's just so interesting seeing. I would say out of the words you said, I mean, I would say inspiring fits him a bit here. Not in the same way he is now, but in the fact that he's like, hey, even though I'm treated like crap, which he still is here, he's like that. I still want to try to be better and learn how to be better, even if people are still gonna suck. Because that's why he joins Xavier and calls him teacher.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
He has the desire to learn and to be better, which is inspiring. So I think there's some of that there. I think he's dashing here, but maybe I'm the only one that's turned on by.
I do not. Okay. All right. I'm officially going to cancel you now. Absolutely not. He is not dashing. I'm not going to call him dashing. I mean, I'll take the inspiring. I mean, fuzzy, but I don't even think he's fuzzy here because I don't think he was intended to be fuzzy here, but it's fine. I don't think he's exquisite. I mean,
not exquisite here. Yeah, I'm with you on that one.
Yeah, like I mean, I'm just gonna say, like, I think every single word that was given to us in the Discord 100% describes Kurt as he is now. And I think what he was written as in Giant Size X-Men is nothing like the Kurt that we have now. But that's a wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing because it came from many, many, many creators putting in their 2 cents and giving us their read, and then over time that kind of culminating into the character that we have. And I think that's beautiful. And yeah, and I can't imagine this angsty, angry, like just yelling at Sunfire blue man capturing as many hearts as he has if he had stayed the same.
Oh, I can imagine he still would, but in a very different way, because I mean, women cry over Kylo Ren in the Star Wars franchise, which I hate that Creedon, but he's the epitome of the emo guy that you want to fix. Like, Jesus Christ, calm down. So I feel like I'm glad they didn't stick with that with Kurt, because that just needs to stop. But that's kind of more the vibe he has here, in my opinion. And again, I'm very glad they went away from that. Can we also just quickly talk about the fact that Krakoa, the whole, we're on Krakoa now in today's world. Isn't that great? Krakoa, the island that walks like man. This was a thing back then. Like, what?
This is the one thing, like, okay, so I mean, straight up, like, I don't read every single X-Men comic that comes out. I'm straight about that, So, like, I might have missed 1 or 2 things during all of this Krakoa stuff that's happening. So, someone fill me in if I don't know what if I've missed something. But, like, I don't remember anyone really second guessing the Krakoa thing, especially like these specific X-Men who went through this. Mm-hmm. So, like, I would love to see like any of these, any like pairing or grouping of these X-Men just like sitting together, having a drink, being like, this is weird, right? Like, this is weird that we live here now.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild too, because I'm looking at the page where, you have Polaris, Lorna, about to do her thing, and it says, and for an instant about the island Krakoa, gravity ceases to exist. Then the earth forces come violently together, and the effect is the same as squeezing wet soap through a fist. Krakoa's death cries ring for long seconds in the minds of the awestruck X-Men. She basically just threw it out into space. Like, I'm with you, like I don't read everything X-Men thing either, so, like, people fill me in, because, like, how did they get Krakoa back from space?
That and also, like, why is Krakoa like, yeah, like, come live on me, guys, especially you who threw me in space, girl, like, yeah, 100%, like come live on me, never like that. And also, like, why are all of the X-Men, and especially these ones specifically, like, why? I just like the fact that, like, there's no questions about it, like, where no one's like, hey guys, remember, this is the island that tried to eat us, guys. Does anyone remember that?
I wonder if Hickman did a retcon for that, because I mean, like, the Moira thing, like, that's basically a huge retcon. That's just widely accepted now, because we're like, oh my god, that's amazing, and it somehow works. What the hell, Hickman? But yeah, I have no idea, because I've never heard that discussed. Like, and maybe I just missed it because I didn't read Hoxpox until this year, I think. So I was very behind on getting into the Krakoan era. So I'm like, where was the discussion on how did Krakoa, what?
Yeah. Well, the Moira thing though was like, that was a very well plotted and well crafted retcon, because like, they really thought about it. It wasn't like they just like came out and were like, she's a mutant, guys, by the way. Like, they really went back through all of her history and like really made it make sense through that. It's not like they just smashed her over the head and were like, hey, by the way, she's not actually what you think she is. She turns out, she's not. I'm trying to do a Maximoff thing. It's not like they Maximoff her,
I agree. And I'm interested. So if you guys know anything specific about how they justified the Krakoa thing, I'd love to know, because reading this Giant Size X-Men issue is hilarious, because Warner just said yeet. Yeet! Bye, Krakoa! Literally into space. We don't know where it went according to that issue. But now it's where, all of the X-Men are based pretty much. So
this is why Mystique won't fuck with Lorna, because Lorna's yeeting ability is legendary.
I have so many ways to take what you just said and spin it, but I'm just not gonna. But anyway,
you've already been canceled like three times today, so.
Oh, I don't think it can be canceled. It's just very after dark. So anyways,
okay, we'll save it.
With first impressions, I don't think a lot of what we said is, I'm with you on that. I don't think a lot of what was said about Kurt is what we see in this issue. I think in general, because I love him so much personally, it's hard for me to throw any bias out the window, because I mean, how do you do that? Like, you see things even if they aren't there. But yeah, I think it was still a good first start for Kurt. I think if he hadn't started that way, he wouldn't have become what he is today, and he needed to start somewhere. And I don't think Dave Cockrum's original interpretation and creation stuff was wrong or bad. It needed fine tuning, and we get that eventually.
Well, that's the nature of this kind of medium, is that over time, so many people work on it and so many people get a chance to put their own into it, that it gets to evolve. I do want to mention at the very end of the issue, we have Angel saying, that their next little problem is, what are we going to do with 13 X-Men? And I got some bad news, Angel. You don't make the cut. Yeah, sorry about it, buddy. It's like, I just love how it's Angel saying that, because it's like knowing that coming up, it's like, you're out, buddy. You're out. Bobby's out. Hank's out. Hank's already out, I think. Is Hank in this? I don't remember if Hank's. That's how much I don't
remember seeing him. Yeah.
I just ignore Beast wherever I possibly can. But yeah, basically it's like, you're not. Yeah. So that reminds me of when people are talking about going out, and that one guy that hangs around with your group of friends who you're not really friends with, and he's like, so what are you guys doing tomorrow? And it's like,
it's like, so how do we say this? How do we not say it? That's
I imagine that Warren goes back to the professor and is like, Professor, what are we going to do? 13 X-Men, this is crazy. And the professor's like, Warren,
actually, it's all part of the plan, Warren.
Yeah. By the way, Warren, I did buy you some new luggage. Why don't you try it out?
You've been getting so much better with your flying, and flying for such a long distance and so high up too. Give it a shot. See how high you can.
Yeah. You know what, Warren? Superheroics isn't for everybody. So just
man, we're the Angel fans are going to cancel us. I'm so sorry, guys. No hate to Angel. It's just too funny.
What we're going to get canceled by 2 people? I'm sorry, Angel fans. No, I actually do love Angel. I'm an Angel fan. I like Warren a lot. So,
I don't know about that, but.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed Angel during Chuck Austin's run. I really did. I think he did.
Every
some fun
time you mention Chuck Austin, I'm like, girl, I know you want to do the episode. I know we're gonna get there. Put it on the schedule.
Oh! It's not going to be an episode. It's going to be like a season. We're going to have a Chuck Austin season of Simply Amazing. We might have to call it something else. We might have to call it simply
no. That's gonna be on the Patreon. That's the only way you get to hear Lisa go into the Chuck Austin run, and I lose my mind.
But this is going to be it's going to have to be the opposite Patreon, because we're going to pay people to listen to us. No one's going to pay to listen to that shit. Give me a break. It's going to be is there something opposite of Patreon where you pay people to come listen to you? Because that's what that's going to be. No, I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a good time rereading Chuck Austin's X-Men and just reliving those years. That'd be fun.
Yeah. But regardless, I think, first impression, it was a start for Kurt. And I'm just happy that we got the fuzzball we have today.
Absolutely. 100% agreed. Yes. If I had a bell, I'd ring it. If I had something,
Get your what's that thing called?
Oh, my gavel.
Yeah.
There you go. Yes, there we go. Bang the gavel. There we are.
Judge Lisa has made her ruling.
I have made my ruling. Judge Lisa and Judge Warren. Judge Warren? Judge Lauren. Why did I say Warren?
Oh, I guess you really do like Angel more than you talk about him.
Oh my God. Saints and sinners. Oh, the best part about that is that it's from a different podcast that we just recorded that may or may not go up before or after this. Who knows?
We never know when things air. We never know when we run the show.
We never know. We never know. Do we? I have no idea who does anything anymore.
We don't. You guys can find me on Twitter at friendlymBHDBI. Come bother me. Come cancel me for liking Kurt still in this issue. That's fine.
Yes, and you can find me at the OG Nocturne. That's Noct with an NACHTURNE. And you can also find us at simplyamazingpod.com. That's where you're going to find all of our socials, all of our stuff. We got a blog now. You can find our blog. If you want to write for our blog, write something about Kurt, you let us know. If you want to come be a guest on our podcast, come on, let us know. If you want to tell us you love us, please email us, tweet us, Facebook us. If you want to tell us you hate us, come talk to me directly. I'll handle it. You come to me. One-on-one. I'll meet you. We'll talk. All right. But seriously, if you do enjoy us, please rate us, review us, follow us on whatever you listen to. If it's Apple, if it's Stitcher, if it's Google, if it's I don't know, if you got a tin can on a string. I don't know what you got these days. But thank you guys again for listening and enjoying. And if you are listening on that tin can and a string all the way back in 1975, and you are like reading this comic and you're like, who is this dick who's blue? Why should I like him? I promise you, he is awesome. You're going to love him and you're going to become a fan just like the rest of us. And you're going to be simply amazing.